Morning, my name is Father Rayappa. I'm in Ekattupudi village near Vellore, India. Today I'm going to talk about Centesimus Annus, written by Saint Pope John Paul II in 1991. It's almost 25 years ago he has written Centesimus Annus, which means 100th year of what? The completion of Rerum Novarum, another encyclical which was written in 1891 by Pope Leo XIII. Rerum Novarum talks about the rights of people and about labor, about work, and about justice, social justice. So that was a beautiful document. Before that, popes were writing only about metaphysical issues like heaven, hell, purgatory, all those stuff. But this was a turning point in the history of the church. And Pope was talking about land and water, air, duties and rights and freedom, social justice. So it was a beautiful document, and it was a very innovative document for that time in 1891. So Centesimus Annus, in the fourth chapter, also Centesimus Annus has also 6 chapters. I mean, the popes are so great. Even Caritas in Veritate, written by Pope Benedict XVI, has 6 chapters. And Laudato Si, written by Pope Francis, has 6 chapters. Actually, Centesimus Annus has already seen 2 prior documents. I mean, talking about the Centesimus Annus, first Centesimus Annus, then they came Quadragesimo Anno, the 40th year, and then came Octagesimo Adveniens, that is 80th year, and then Pope Saint John Paul II, Centesimus Annus, 100th year. So these 4 documents can be grouped into one. So actually, I gave a small speech in my last segment on the universal destination of goods. I talked about people can own private property as long as they have a social purpose. Whatever they produce in this land belongs to everybody, not only to the family to make profit, but it belongs to the neighbors, it belongs to the villagers, it belongs to the whole humanity, and also it belongs to creation, to the insects, the birds, and animals. So this is what popes have been writing for the past 120 years. They are talking about private property, and church defends private property as long it has recognized the social mortgage, or it has recognized as the social purpose. So when we make agrarian theology, and we should educate our people, because our people absolutely they don't know anything. They think they own everything. The land is theirs, and only for self-interest. And no, that is not true. The church has been always teaching it belongs to everybody. Whatever comes and whatever you produce in this agricultural field, it belongs to everybody. So I think farmers should recognize that, and they should really, when they recognize that, they will not kill the land with fertilizers or herbicides or genetically modified crops. And there is a lot of violence going on because farmers have a sense of misunderstanding there, and they think they own it, and it is for making money. No, it is not for making money. This land borrowed from our previous generation and then handed down from previous generation, and now we are going to hand over to the next generation. And we need to safeguard and till it and keep it. That is the Genesis chapter 2:15. We till it. We till the land, cultivate it, and we can take sustenance. We can draw our livelihood from the land. At the same time, we should not destroy it. We can use it or never abuse it. So Pope John Paul II in Centesimus Annus, paragraph number 30, he talks about the ownership of the land, especially the private property. And the 4th chapter is titled Private Property and the Universal Destination of Material Goods. and he is talking about rerum novarum. I'm going to read for you Pope John Paul II in Centesimus Annus writes as follows in paragraph number 3030. In rerum novarum, Leo the 13th strongly affirmed the natural character of the rights to private property, using various arguments against the socialism of his time. This right, which is fundamental for the autonomy and development of a person, has always been defended by the Church up to our own day. At the same time, the Church teaches that the possession of material goods is not an absolute right, and that its limits are inscribed in its very nature as a human right. While the Pope proclaimed the right to private ownership, he affirmed with equal clarity that the use of goods, while marked by freedom, is subordinated to their original common destination as created goods, as well as to the will of Jesus Christ as expressed in the Gospel. Pope Leo wrote, "Those whom fortune favors are admonished that they should tremble at the warnings of Jesus Christ, and that a most strict account must be given to the Supreme Judge for the use of all they possess." And quoting St. Thomas Aquinas, he added, "But if the question be asked, how must one's possessions be used? The Church replies, without hesitation, that man should not consider his material possessions as his own, but as common to all. Because above the laws and judgments of men stands the law, the judgment of Christ." The successors of Leo XIII have repeated this twofold affirmation, the necessity and therefore the legitimacy of private ownership, as well as the limits which are imposed on it. The Second Vatican Council likewise clearly restated the traditional doctrine in words which bear repeating. In making use of the exterior things we lawfully possess, we ought to regard them not just as our own, but also as common, in the sense that they can profit not only the owners, but others too. And a little later we read, "Private property or some ownership of external goods affords each person the scope needed for personal and family autonomy, and should be regarded as an extension of human freedom. Of its nature, private property also has a social function which is based on the law of the common purpose of goods." I have returned to this same doctrine, first in my address to the Third Conference of the Latin American Bishops of Fobla, and later in the encyclicals Laborum Excessens and Solicitudo Rei Socialis. That is the paragraph number 30 from Centesimus Annus, written by Saint Pope John Paul II under the subheading called Private Property and the Universal Destination of Material Goods. It is unbelievable, and it's a shock when you read what Pope Leo XIII in Rerum Novarum wrote about private property. He's just telling, if you are using your private material goods for your own self-interest, you will be condemned. You will be going to hell, in other words. So even Second Vatican Council always talked about social purpose of the ownership of material goods. Whether we own land, whether we own stocks, when we own big fat bank balance, or gold and silver, that is not for your own use. It should serve other people's needs too. So always it has a social mortgage. Beautiful Centesimus Annus. Please read paragraph number 30 from Centesimus Annus. Saint Pope John Paul II was a brilliant writer, and you will enjoy this document. And happy reading, and thank you, and God bless.